What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be all about how I pack my bike for motorcycle trips. So I'm going to be going over different luggage options that I use and why, how I pack my bike up, and in general, just some of the things that I do decide to take with me on the road. So let's get into it. I do want to give a quick shout out to J&P Cycles for sponsoring today's video. A lot of the parts and accessories that are on my 2023 Low Rider ST that y'all know as Waylon can be found on jmpcycles.com, as well as a lot of the luggage that I'm going to be talking about in today's video. So whether you're getting ready for a road trip or you're looking to customize your bike in the near future, there are going to be affiliate links up here in the cards as well as down in the video description. If you do shop with those links, I will get a small kickback at no additional cost to you, and those funds do help fund the road trips that y'all like to watch over here on the channel. So thank you in advance if you do. And they also pay for Lanky's cat food. Here, you want to be a YouTube star again? I need you to tell everyone on YouTube to shop with J&P Cycles so I can buy you cat food. Okay? Thanks, you guys. All right, Mom has to film a YouTube video. As always, there are going to be chapters right here at the bottom of the screen if you do want to skip around and check out just a couple of specific things I'm going to be talking about in this video, but let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about in today's video is going to be clothing choices because one, it is the first thing that I tend to pack whenever I'm getting ready for a trip, and two, it's one of the more popular questions that I get asked about my whole packing process is because people see that this is all of the clothes that I take and they're kind of mind blown that I just don't take a lot of clothes with me on trips. So the reality is I've been traveling by motorcycle for 14 years now. I know what works for me and I know how many clothes I end up not wearing when I go on trips. And I've just learned to pack lighter and lighter over the years. The other thing is, this is a big motorcycle for me. My Softail is, small to some people, but realistically, as many of y'all know if you've been watching my channel for a while, I also have a Sportster. I've ridden other bikes, and my Sportster, in the way that I have it set up, you have to pack really light on that bike. So I've just learned over time how to be a minimalist, and I also ultimately don't really care if I'm wearing the same t-shirt for 5 days straight. I don't care what anyone thinks about me if they see me out wearing the same t-shirt for a few days. Let's say you're at a motorcycle rally. Everyone else is doing the same thing as you, where they had to get there on their motorcycle. They didn't have a lot of room to pack a lot of stuff. No one is expecting you to change your outfit every single day into something completely new. A lot of us are trying to work with a couple of things that we can stuff in our saddlebags and make it work. So for those of you who think you gotta, change outfits all the time, no one cares. And if they do, then they're ridiculous. So anyway, realistically speaking, there are a few things that I do consider whenever I am choosing what's going to go in these packing cubes. One of those things is going to be the time that I'm on the road. Am I gonna be gone for 3 or 4 days, or am I going to be gone for 7 to 10 days? I might pack a little bit more for those longer trips, but ultimately it's all still going to fit in these packing cubes. Another thing that I have to consider is weather, because if it's a summer road trip and the temperatures are never going to get below 80 degrees, that is going to change what I choose to pack. And alternatively, if it is a cross-country trip and the temperatures are going to range from 30 degrees at night to, maybe 100 degrees during the day, I have to factor in those weather conditions as well with gear. Another thing I like to do that y'all have seen sometimes is I like to go on little hikes while I'm on trips. And that means that I need to be able to pack those items as well and have some comfortable clothes when I'm off the bike, because some days are just walking days and I am not going to be riding my motorcycles. So the clothes that end up going in here pretty much change on every trip. But overall, I limit myself to exactly what is in these bags. So I really like to use packing cubes. These two are made by Eagle Creek and they are technically compression cubes. So they have this extra zipper that actually opens them up completely. And it can get bigger if you need to expand it. But if you don't need all that extra room, which I rarely do, because again, I've just kind of learned to do more with a lot less, you can also make them smaller. I love using packing cubes for organization, and they have worked wonders. I am long past using Ziploc bags. Once I bought packing cubes, I never looked back. So packing cubes are well worth the investment if you haven't done so yet. Upgrade from those Ziploc bags when you have time. Another tip that I wanted to give y'all about clothing stuff, since I was talking about colder weather trips, is a lot of the mid layers that I tend to use that I've talked about in some of my other videos, like my cold weather riding gear video, are very packable. I really like to use mid layers and insulating layers that pack down super small. I have a Patagonia Nano Puff jacket that packs down to be this tiny and is super, super warm. I also have the Axial mid layer from J&P Cycles, and that packs down super tiny as well. So I also just, make smart decisions with the clothing choices that I make and choose to pack just to save on space. When you're on a motorcycle, space is so important. And yes, I've made investments over the years with some of the gear that I use, but ultimately it is stuff that I can also use off the bike. So it's not something that I'm using, for 4 days at a time. It's stuff that I honestly use many, many days out of the year. So the investments are worth it for me personally. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is toiletries. As a chick, I'm obviously going to have a makeup bag, and I don't take a ton of stuff, but this makeup bag right here is actually just a toiletry kit, and I got this one from REI a handful of years ago. I think they still make it. I would say that I rate it 3 or 4 stars out of 5. It's pretty perfect. It doesn't stay rolled up very well, but it can hang from a door or whatever you need it to, which is nice if you're going to be using, showers at a campground, like if you're at, like the Buffalo Chip, or if you're at, State Park Campground or something. It's nice to be able to just hang this thing up. It has a makeup bag here. It has, an extra little zipper area where my toothbrush and stuff goes. And then over here, because I am bougie about my shampoo and conditioner and all that, I do have a bunch of go tubes in here that I use for, shampoo, conditioner, face wash, all of that fun stuff. So I know I just told y'all that I'm pretty good at being a minimalist, but 2 things that I always take on my trips that are full-sized and they're kind of non-negotiables for me are my hair straightener as well as a full-size brush. I've tried to use little travel brushes and I've tried to use different hair straighteners, and no matter what, I always end up just wishing that I had these with me. So these are 2 full-size things that I am willing to have take up space on my bike. I almost forgot to tell you about one of my favorite things that I do pack with me on road trips, and I know it's kind of silly, but I love to take these Bedrock sandals with me. These shoes I've had for, I think like 4 years now, and they have been such an upgrade from just a cheap little pair of flip-flops. I can hike 10 plus miles in these and I am perfectly fine. I also just love to have a shoe that not only packs down really small, but it's just also very utilitarian. I can wear these in lakes if I want to go swimming. I can wear these, when I don't want my boots on, when I'm off the bike. I just love having these sandals with me. And so yeah, they always go in my saddlebags. So with clothing and toiletries out of the way, it is time to start packing up my saddlebags, which are the Leatherpros. I love Leatherpros. I had these on my Dyna as well, and I've talked about these in one of my other ST videos when I did an overview on this bike and why I chose to take my stock bags off and put these bags on, and there's a few reasons for that. One is these hold a little bit more stuff. I didn't like that the bags were asymmetrical, and above all else, I love that the Leatherpros have pockets. I'm just not a big fan of the clamshells, and there are some things that I like to store in these Leatherpro bags that it's just nice to have, easy access to whenever you're on the road. And I don't feel like you get that as easily with the clamshell bags on the ST. So this setup works for me. I know it's not for everyone, but this is how I do it. Another nice thing about these is that they do come off really easily. So if I'm staying at a hotel, it's really easy to just pop the bag off and use the handle that comes with it if I want to just take the bag off and carry it in somewhere. So a few packing tips here whenever you're packing up saddlebags, especially if you're on a smaller motorcycle. 1, think of them as wings of an airplane. You don't want one weighing a lot more than the other because you are going to notice that weight difference. Again, thinking of them like wings on a plane, even if you do buy these Leatherpros like I use, try to never expand them out. That is where it's better to pack up than pack out because it does affect your aerodynamics. I used to do road trips on my Dyna with Leatherpros and I would have them expanded, and once I got up to highway speeds, you could absolutely tell that there was a lot of wind resistance hitting the bike because of how wide the bags were. So eventually I did start upgrading and packing things on my back seat because it just made the bike a lot safer, honestly. But also, while you are packing these bags, you do want to think about your exhaust and thinking about things that, maybe in a bag that's sitting above your exhaust pipe, because realistically, if something happens to this bag while I'm going down the road, which I've never had an exhaust issue, I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. I've never had a bag burn up from hot exhaust or any of that. But let's say that you're carrying camping gear in this bag. if it's really hot outside and you have, you know, like a jet boil canister sitting above a hot exhaust, it could explode. So always think about things that are going to be going in this saddlebag that's right above your exhaust. Personally, I always choose to use this saddlebag that is on the right side of my bike as kind of a, if I lose it, I lose it bag. This stuff isn't, you know, an end all if it comes off the motorcycle or gets burned up. Again, never had that issue, but you never know. On this side of the bike, I tend to keep my rain gear. This is always on the bike, no matter what day it is. Quick tip and reason that I do also like to store my rain gear on this side of the bike is because you're typically going to pull over on the right side of the road if you need to put your rain gear on, right? This way you are not facing traffic and you are further away from traffic whenever you're pulled over. So it's super easy to get out and you're just slightly safer, not standing, you know, possibly in the middle of a highway. I also have a first aid kit in here, back here. This is always on my bike as well. And then the last thing that is always in my saddlebags is going to be a tire repair kit. And I also have a Lexan Smart Pump in here as well. And you can find this on JMP Cycles. Again, if you guys are going to shop with JMP at all, feel free to use that affiliate link. I do appreciate you in advance. But yeah, I also have this in here. And luckily, I have never had to use it. But if I don't need it and someone else does, it's better to have all this junk than, you know, be stuck on the side of the road. So these are things that always stay in my saddlebags no matter what day it is, just in case. Another thing that I keep in this saddlebag is tools. Now, I'm not going to go over my tools for this video because realistically, tools are going to depend on what you're personally comfortable carrying and what bike you're riding. It's going to vary from person to person, so I'm not going to focus on that a lot. But I do recommend that you do carry some tools with you if you're on a motorcycle. So once the bags are loaded, the next thing I usually pack is going to be my handlebar bag. I have a few different ones, which is kind of funny because I don't own a single purse, but I own like 5 different handlebar bags. But I have a few different ones, and depending on the trip I take, depends on the bag that I end up taking with me. I've been using this Thrash and Supply one a lot. It's kind of just good for your bare essentials, you know, whatever you want to pack in here. But it also has these little straps at the bottom, and Thrashin does make a handful of accessories that you can buy and add on and use with these straps. But I personally actually use a water bladder that I hook through here, and then I've custom made like a little hose so that it's shorter. And that way, if I want to drink water while I'm riding, I can. It's easily accessible. And so, yeah, this is usually my go-to, especially in the summer months. And yeah, it's super easy to install. So yeah, between a set of Leatherpros and a bar bag, I can pretty much get all of the essentials on my motorcycle. But as many of y'all know, I like to carry camera gear with me because I do film YouTube videos and I am a photographer. So I got to have a place to securely put that stuff. And I do like to go motorcycle camping. So I do need a little bit more room for all of that. And that is where all of the back luggage comes in that you guys see me carry on this bike. So in order to carry my camera gear and my camping gear, I use a quick detach sissy bar, and it does have a lock on it, so I can lock this to the bike if I want to. This is a Harley-Davidson one, but there are plenty of aftermarket brands that make them, and they are available through JMP Cycles. It just snaps in here, and then I can lock it down to the sissy bar, or to the bike if I want. And then I can start adding other gear to the sissy bar. So the next piece of luggage that I wanted to talk to you about is my Saddlemen BR3400. This is the bag that y'all usually see sitting on my passenger seat. However, you can also add this to a luggage rack back here if you had a passenger and you just wanted to use this as an extra bag. I see a lot of people on touring bikes doing that. But I don't use this for extra clothes or any of that. I use it for 2 main reasons. One, I really like to have a backrest on my bike. And so that is what this is loaded up for. I also have added little rock straps here if I want to, you know, add anything right here. But there are a lot of different places, you know, that I can store things. Like I've got beef jerky in this right now, which is great. Unless you're in bear country, don't leave snacks on your bike. But it does have a couple different compartments. You know, right here I tend to put some sunglasses or other things. Maybe some receipts is what's looking like it's living in there at the moment. And then there is a nice little top compartment here for any other things. I usually keep hats in here. I got my Law Tigers hat in here right now. And then this is an Axle Co. handlebar bag that I'm actually using to store all of my action camera like mounts and accessories while I'm on the trip. By the way, this is all of the like extra stuff that I take for my Insta360 X5. I don't like to take a ton of extra mounts and parts with me Again, just trying to do the most with the least. But yeah, you can store a ton of stuff in this bag, and I have really, really liked it. Before this, I was using the Kiriakin Momentum Vagabond bag, and that's also a great bag. You can't go wrong with either. I personally prefer the Saddlemen, even though it has turned purple in just a year's time. It actually turned purple well before the end of last year, which was pretty unfortunate. I do feel that it is slightly more rigid and structured, so quality-wise there, I do prefer it. And then I also prefer the way that it mounts to the sissy bar, I do really like the way that Saddlemen has designed that. So overall, this has been a really great bag, and what I use the interior for is to carry my camera bag. So this thing's pretty heavy, and it's really nice to be able to just put it right here and, you know, store it real easily. And I can access this super easily whenever I'm on the road. Another nice thing about this, instead of carrying a Pelican for my camera equipment, is one, this is pretty inconspicuous. No one's gonna think that there's camera stuff in here. And the only reason I'm telling you guys this, because obviously people recognize my bike whenever it's sitting on the side of the road, is that anytime I walk away from my motorcycle, you're never gonna find my bike sitting alone and my camera bag just being in it. Now I could build a Pelican out, and I've debated it, but honestly, I just love having this as a backrest, and so that's why I continue to use something like this. So last but not least, the other piece of luggage that I use is going to be these Sea to Summit Big River dry bags. I use these mostly for camping gear. However, this one that is currently empty is going to be kind of a variable bag, but no matter what, if I'm going camping, I never store my camp kitchen with my sleep system. So my tent, my sleeping bag, all of that always goes in one bag, and it never goes in this bag because I don't want any of that food residue getting on any of my sleeping gear because it attracts wildlife and it's bad news bears, quite literally. So yeah, anytime I have a jet boil or any food, you know, like a skillet or something with me, all that ends up going in this bag. Now, this bag can serve a few different purposes. Let's say that I want to have a camp chair or maybe some extra camp accessories, and I don't want to take my camp kitchen. Sometimes I'll store them in this bag, or alternatively, if I know I'm not going to be cooking at camp, like when I went to Michigan's Upper Peninsula and did that big fall road trip last year, I actually used this bag just to store my heated gear whenever it wasn't in use, because I needed a full kit from head to toe for the first half of the trip because it was so cold getting up there. And then the last half of the trip, it warmed up and I didn't need any of that stuff, but I needed a place to store it. So that is where this bag came in. I've been using the Sea to Summit Big River dry bags now on my bike for 5 years. I had another set of them before these, and honestly, they didn't even really need to be upgraded. Sea to Summit was nice enough to send me a new set of bags because they match Wayland, which is super cool. But yeah, these are super high quality. I love these bags. I can't say enough nice things about them. But one last thing that I will mention in this video as to how I do strap things to my bike, because I'm not going to do it right now. I don't have the straps actually out, but I have plenty of footage that I can B-roll with at the moment to show y'all, is I use rock straps to strap anything to a motorcycle, whether I am renting a bike and strapping other luggage, or it is my own motorcycle and I'm strapping just these dry bags to it. I always use rock straps. I don't use nets anymore. I don't use any of those other junky bungee cords. Like, I don't use any of that stuff. Rock straps are the business. I love them so, so much. I've been using rock straps now for a handful of years, and it's one of those things that I'm just like mind blown that I didn't start using it earlier because they are so, so nice. I do use the commuter straps, and I do use the larger, thicker straps as well. Both are great, but if you're going to be doing a, you know, kind of longer haul trip and you've got kind of heavier stuff, I would recommend using the thicker straps. The commuters are really thin. But yeah, they're super, super great. And I can put all of my stuff on the back of the bike and load and unload it really easily. And they don't come undone. So I'm able to put my stuff on the bike and I don't have to constantly worry if, you know, something flopped off or untied or any of that. So that is everything that I use whenever I go on motorcycle trips, but y'all see me do a lot of Eagle Rider trips where I fly somewhere and rent a motorcycle, and I do want to go over some of that stuff really quick here at the end of this video. I really like to use these REI big haul duffel bags. They fold up and get pretty tiny. This is actually the bag that this goes into. So whenever I'm not using it, it can go in here and be stored on the motorcycle. This is a 60-liter bag. I also have a 40-liter that's nice. The 40-liter will act as a carry-on piece of luggage, by the way. The 60-liter, depending on your bike, you may have to check this as luggage. But either way, it is water resistant, which is nice. If you're just going to be riding through downpour for a few days, I would not recommend this. But what's also great is that it does have backpack straps that kind of load onto this bag here. So if you do want to carry it on your back through the airport, it is super easy to do so. So I've used these for a couple of years now. I'm a big fan of them. The REI ones are a little more budget friendly than the Patagonias or the North Face ones that are similar style. But yeah, these have been great, and these are what I take with me whenever I do motorcycle rental trips. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. That goes over all of the stuff that I take with me on trips and how I pack it. So hopefully that answered a few of y'all's questions. Let me know if y'all have any more down in the comments below. If you guys do shop with JMP Cycles, again, I would appreciate it if y'all used that affiliate link that's up in the cards as well as down in the video description. And until the next one, I will see you all on the road. Later, y'all.